Hey, this is John, Becky, and Will from StubGroup, and we're going to be talking today about a couple different things. This is the time of year here at the end of 2023 is when we're recording this. And a lot of businesses are thinking through, hey, are my campaigns as good as they could be? Is there a different solution, maybe a different agency that could do a better job? And they're considering, hey, who should I look for? Should I bring in a Google Premier partner like StubGroup to take a look at things? And so let's talk today about what does it look like when businesses reach out to us looking for a second opinion, and then what does it look like when they hire us to take things over? And what's that experience of working with StubGroup as an agency? Becky, I'll kick it over to you first.
Yeah, I think that the end of the year is the perfect time for businesses and individuals that are running side businesses and things like that to really evaluate how their campaigns performed in the previous year or however long they've been running. A lot of times people want a strategy, right? You come to an agency and you want a strategy of what to do. And a lot of times that strategy is, here's what we think is going to work, and we have to test it out to figure out what's going to work because you don't have any data for us to work from. The great thing when businesses do have data, whether they've been working with an agency or a freelancer or an in-house PPC specialist, whatever it is, when we have campaigns that we can look at and evaluate, we're able to effectively give you a second opinion of sorts, right? It's like having another doctor look at your case and say, hey, here's what I would do a little bit differently, and here's why we've seen it work for other clients. And so, that's one thing we offer anybody that's coming to us. Let us look into your campaigns. Let us dig in and tell you, here's what we see going on. Here's what we think is wrong with what the setup has to do. And sometimes that's your campaigns. Sometimes it's keywords. Sometimes it doesn't have anything to do with that. Sometimes it has to do with your business model or your landing pages. But we want to look at your account and your business very holistically and tell you, here's what we would do differently if we were trying to help you manage campaigns from a digital standpoint, right? Here's what we see work for other clients in similar spaces to you. I know, John, your team does a little bit of work on that side of the evaluations when you're looking at accounts. So what are some of the most important things you're looking for when it comes to that initial evaluation of an account before they sign up to work with us here at StubGroup?
There's a lot of things that our team looks at. Some of the most important ones are going to be under categories of conversion tracking. So seeing, hey, do you understand actually what's working and not working within your account? Is it set up correctly? I'd say very rarely do we look at an account and say, yes, everything is working as it should be. There's almost always problems. That's one of the biggest problem areas we see when we evaluate accounts is you're not tracking things correctly, which means you can't optimize correctly because you don't know what's working and what's not working. So we look at that. We look at, if they're running search campaigns, we're often taking a lot of time to look at the search terms that you're actually appearing for, because that's kind of the heart of, are you getting relevant traffic or not? And often we'll see problems where, hey, you think you're getting the right traffic, maybe you got the right keywords, but you're not actually matching to the right search terms, and you're wasting a lot of spend, or you're not getting in front of the traffic that you want to be. So that's another big area. And then often too, we'll just see kind of a lack of TLC, tender loving care, in the account, where you've got maybe ads that are outdated, you've got assets that maybe Google has automatically created and you don't even realize that they're created because Google likes to do some sneaky things there, and you've got just problems or weird things in your ads, and you're just not performing well because of those things. There's plenty of other problems too that we often find, but those are some of the big categories I'd say that pretty consistently are a pattern when our team does these evaluations.
Yeah, and once we go over those with clients, sometimes they will decide that they're going to go ahead and try to fix those things on their own. Other times they'll decide that they want to work with us. And in the case where they sign up to work with us, the next step in that process is a little more complicated than just a cut and paste, right, of what we learned from the evaluation and what we're looking at in the new account. Onboarding a client in a way that is not only going to help fix the problems that we've found, but also going to set them up for success long term is not something that happens overnight. It's a process that the team goes through after looking at the evaluation, but also learning an extensive amount of information about the client's goals, and then merging those things together in order to get things set up. Will and his team are often the leaders of that process, as well as other pod leaders and client success managers here at StubGroup. So I think, Will, can you kind of give everybody an idea of some things that people might be confused about whenever they first begin the onboarding process and clarify what that process and setup might look like?
Yeah, so whether or not you took advantage of the evaluation, we want to start from a good base point. We want to have a good foundation for the account that we're going to be managing for you, whether you have existing campaigns that are running there, or if it's a completely brand new account. We want to understand your business, we understand your goals, what success looks like for you. Some of that, or I say some of that, most of that was probably not part of the evaluation. Again, the evaluation is looking at just the performance, setup, structure of your existing account. But as we dig into, okay, how do we advertise your business? How do we advertise your service or products? We want to understand, okay, what does success look like for you? What numbers do you need to hit? What are your costs? And how do we make all of this line up perfectly so that you're able to make money and scale that profitability? So we'll have you fill out a questionnaire, go through as much of that information as possible, and then your account management team and your team, or just you by yourself, will meet up to have a kickoff call and go through that, answer any follow-up questions that our team may have, maybe where we need additional clarity. We want to understand, hey, what are the biggest value propositions that you bring and that you want to put front and center for customers that are trying to find you online, and across whichever channels, and make sure we have all of that information in place. And a kickoff call is not really meant to be a strategy meeting as such, where we're talking about, hey, this is what we're going to do, this is what we're not going to do in individual campaigns, but we want to have a good baseline for, okay, what does success look like and what are the next steps. So the next steps, once we have that kickoff call, are going to be our team getting access to your accounts, making sure if it's access to the back end of your website so we can help you set up tracking codes, whether it's other platforms that we need access to set up reporting for you, and all those good things. What you may find surprising is that most of the time in the setup process may not actually be in creating new campaigns or writing ad copy or even doing competitor research. Depending on the complexity of your website, most of the time may be just in setting up or fixing your tracking. So if you're an e-commerce website, or if you're a retail company, having accurate revenue tracking or lead generation tracking, whether that's phone calls, form submissions, appointment signups, things like that. If you don't know the results of your account, then you can't optimize those campaigns. We can't optimize those campaigns and see what's working and what's not working. So there's a lot going on there. Some websites are easier to work with than others and different platforms. So that's going to be a big part of that process. And if you were running campaigns previously and tracking wasn't set up the way that we would do it, or it wasn't set up at all, we need to get that fixed first so that we can understand what's working, what's not working. Because that's also going to impact your ability to look back at previous months and years to compare data. How does performance now compare to then? It's not going to be as helpful if your tracking wasn't actually working. So that is going to be extremely important to resolve at the beginning. Then once that's in place, we'll either do that as much on our side, we'll work with you or your development team to make sure all of that's in place, and then we'll work through ad copy, determining whether we're going to use existing copy and campaigns you may have already running in your account, or if we need to set up new campaigns with a new structure, a new strategy that's going to work best for you, and then we'll evaluate that together. Typically that takes a couple weeks to put all that together. Sometimes it's faster, sometimes it takes longer, depending on what hiccups you may have in the process, and then get things going as far as reviewing the account with you, reviewing ad copy, getting your feedback, talking over anything that you might want to clarify, and then launch the campaigns. So that's what the onboarding process looks like in a very small nutshell.
Yeah, and I think it's just important for people to understand from the very beginning. We try to prepare them for the different things that we do here that might be something that they haven't done before, and help them to understand what that might be like. And I think, John, were you going to say something in relation to that as well?
Well, one thing I was going to say is a couple common questions that I know we get asked when new clients come on board is, are we going to keep using their existing Google Ads account or create a new account for them? And generally the answer to that is we're going to keep using what you have because we want to leverage the history and information that you already have. And also you continue to be the owner of the data. We are stewarding the campaigns and the data on your behalf, but you're still the owner of the business. And so we'll keep using that same existing account. And then also a follow-up question to that is, are we going to keep using the same campaigns that are running or create new campaigns? And that answer to that really depends on how well or how not well the campaigns are doing. If you're coming to us and saying, hey, we're reasonably happy with what's going on right now, we're hitting our goals, but we think we're leaving opportunity on the table, we want to keep scaling, we need someone who's experienced like StubGroup to help us with that. Well, awesome. We're not just going to inherently stop all the campaigns you're running and create our new stuff just for the fun of it. We're going to leverage what's working well and make optimizations, improvements, and help you scale that. But if you're saying, hey, or if we're looking at the campaigns and saying, hey, these are just not good, they're not structured properly, you're not seeing good performance, then often we will pause them and create new campaigns that are structured correctly from ground zero and are positioned to perform well. So really, it all comes down to the specific account, your pain points, what performance looks like, and every onboarding process is nuanced. Like you mentioned earlier, it's not a template of just copy paste. It's let's figure out what's going on with your account, your market, your data, and then make the right decisions for you.
Yeah, I think all of that is something that's super important for people to think about as they head into the new year. The things that we find sometimes are urgent, right? So I think one other thing that's important to mention is if we do find something where you're wasting thousands of dollars of ad spend on a keyword that's not relevant to your business, we're not going to go through the whole onboarding process before fixing that for you, right? We had a client recently where we saw that they were bidding on a keyword that had nothing to do with the service that they were providing. And they said, please, before we even have the kickoff call, can you make sure that this isn't spending? And that's something that we did. So, there are little things like that we're going to repair at the beginning, but the goal is to get you through the first 10 to 14 business days and set up in a way that you're going to see performance improve over the upcoming months after that. We would love to have the opportunity to evaluate your current campaigns, talk to you about your business, and onboard you as a client. You would get to speak with any of the three of us throughout that entire process, most likely. So if you'd like to reach out to us, head over to our website, stubgroup.com, or click a link in the footer of this video, and we would love to talk to you.
Thanks so much for watching, and hopefully we'll talk to you soon. Until next time, take care.